Yeah, well, it's somewhat of a safe place anyway. But
Well,
I don't think anybody knows I'm here. Are these walls bulletproof? Hi, Tom. Tom.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I talked to somebody the other day about this broadcasting business. Is that a lot of us are introverts because you don't. You get in front of the grandstand at the fair and there's 1,000, 3,000 eyes looking at you. It makes a whole lot of difference. But when you're here, it's easier to do this job. And as you can see on video, you got to concentrate on what you're doing here.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm fascinated when I watch you at all the things you do and all the coordination you must be doing up here in the head to get all that stuff right. I don't know. Wow, it seems rather, tough to do. I don't know that I could do it. Initially, I think I would be.
There's an old saying in the broadcasting business: "Where are you going next?"
Yeah, multitask.
Because what we're doing right now is past.
Yeah,
it's like the clock.
A lot of things.
This second is past.
Yeah.
And it won't come back. So where are you going from here?
Yeah.
So how is time going for you here as you're winding down the end of your term as
it's
county
going.
board?
It's going probably a little bit slower than I'd like it to be honest with you. But it's getting there. I got to tell you, I'm looking forward to it. I believe it or not, I have a life outside of politics, and I'm looking forward to that very much. Getting back, I have some businesses that I do on the side that are my own that I really haven't had the time to concentrate on the way I would like to. I'm looking forward to getting back into that realm, something that I really truly enjoy. Public service is a great deal. It's a great thing, but the thing about public service, I think, is, and anybody will tell you, I think anybody that's honest will tell you, it can be quite taxing, especially if you're coming from a place where you're, people that I value their opinion tell me I'm a black and white guy. I'm a black and white guy. It's right or it's wrong, and kind of that's probably the paradigm for the operation of my personal life. I don't know where I was taught that, where I went to a parochial grade school. I don't know. Values are instilled at a very young age. But there's not a gray area if you're talking about wasted tax dollars. There's not a gray area for me if you're talking about misuse of government funds, if you're talking about pilfering government funds, whatever it may be. There's no gray areas there. I'm not going to say that something's right. Well, you know what? Maybe it's okay because we get this out of it. No, to me, it's always black and white. And sometimes that can be problematic. So not everybody will agree with you. That tends to be the way I operate. And for good or bad, those things can cause stress as well. When you're on the right side or wrong side, you go home. I've said it before here. You go home some days and you think, "Wow, we really did something right. We did something good today. It's going to have an effect for a long time. It's going to be good for the county." And then there's days you go home and you bang your head against the wall and you say, "Why am I doing this? Why do I do this?" And so after 8 years. I am certainly ready. People tell me you were one of the first people. Other people have said to me, and by the way, I'm incredibly grateful for this, and to all you people out there that have talked to me. I really appreciate the well wishes and the thanks that I'm getting, and the appreciation for some of the things that we've done. That's very meaningful, very touching for me. I'm very gratified by that, and hopefully it says that we were doing some things right. And hopefully we've set some things in place that going forward can continue to do good things for the county.
Talking with Wood County Board Chairman Doug Mahan, who's decided not to continue on either as the chairman or in the board itself. So there was speculation. We talked about this last month about whether or not you'd go on to do something else.
Not going to happen. There was, again, just the other day, someone asked me if I was thinking about state assembly. No way, I'm not. County board chairman, I'm very, very grateful to have had the opportunity to lead the county, first of all. I'll take 2 years leading the county. You give me the option of 2 years, 20 years, no years. I'll take the 2 years hands down every time. It was a great opportunity, a fantastic adventure, and I think it was very rewarding in many ways. Hopefully it was rewarding for the county and some of the things that we initiated. But I'm not. I tell people my political life is over on April 20th. My political life is done. I'm going to walk away. You will probably not see me in that courthouse again, unless I'm picking up some kind of a deed or things like that, or some kind of official business for me. But I'm going to walk away with my head held high and I'm going to walk away satisfied. I'm past being lamenting the fact that I'm not going to go on. I'm done feeling sorry for myself if I ever did. I don't think I really did, but I'm ready to move on, and hopefully that we get people in there that are willing to think about the county and forget about their personal agendas, their political agendas, and think about the well-being of the taxpayers and the constituents of this county.
Do you think that's what drives them, or is there a personal wealth to be had?
Well, I'll tell you what. This is the thing for me, Jeff. Whenever anything becomes political, and I said it before, county government has a perfect plan for nonpartisan government. We can't even get that right. When things become political, then you start bringing personalities into it. And when you can fight someone on the county board floor, no matter who it is, because you don't like them on an issue that may be very prudent or pragmatic for the county and the constituents, but you're going to fight it because someone that you don't like is either bringing up the idea or advocating for the idea, then you have problems. And you have problems with government. And that's why I say, and anybody that's known me for 8 years, one of the main messages I've always had when I speak publicly is, you know what? Citizens have an obligation. You elect these people, and then it's up to you to hold them accountable for the actions that they take on the board floor, in committees, whatever it be. You need to follow politics. It's not a hard thing to do. We have a newspaper. We have this radio show. We have another radio show in Rapids. We have very few avenues for, thank goodness we have those, because without those we have nothing, basically. And if you don't want to go to a committee meeting, or if you think, you know what, I don't like politics, I don't care about politics, you're not going to get the straight information. You're not going to get the right scoop. People that tell me that, oh, I don't like politics, I don't want it, I don't want anything to do with politics. I ask them, I said, you get mail at your house? Does your garbage get picked up? Your streets get swept? Does the snow get plowed? Yeah. That's politics. And if you don't think it's politics, then you're very naive. Everything is politics.
Well, there's two ways to think about local information like that. When the newspapers and people, they've gone away because everybody can get it on the internet. And I said, where do you think that story originated from?
Yeah.
Who's watching the local? Anymore. There isn't a whole lot.
Oh, and wow, social media. You want to twist facts? Holy cow! I see stuff on that stuff. I don't do Facebook. I don't do any of that stuff because it's
bad for your blood pressure.
Yeah, to say the least. My wife dabbles in it, and I said, I look at some of the stuff. She'll show me one of these things. Look at this. I go, really? You believe that? You really believe that crap? I mean, that's what it is. Anybody can put anything they want out there. Anybody can say anything out there, and it's gospel truth to a lot of people. You know what? They're not going to lie. What do you mean they're not going to lie? That's all people do, isn't it? I mean, from my perspective, that I see more people that would rather twist the facts than give you the straight story. The straight story hurts sometimes. You have to be able to tell people the straight story, and a lot of people don't like to hear it. But don't kill the messenger. And you know what? I'm not going to lie to you because, number one, I'm not going to lie to anybody because I'm not smart enough to lie, because when I start lying, I can't keep track of them. So you know what? I'm just going to tell you the truth. If you don't like it, fine. That's the way it goes. But I'm not going to risk my reputation or my integrity by trying to either twist something or hand you a line. And if you don't believe me, that's your problem.
Wood County Board Chairman Doug Mahan here as he winds down his time here talking about the face of even what's happening on what we would consider the small scale here on how the world goes.
Not as small as you think.
When people elect somebody, they kind of give them the reins and the keys and say, okay, do I have to look over your shoulder all the time? I think a lot of people running up and down Central Avenue here keep their head down, do their job, and say, and then something will blow.
Too bad for
and
people
then
in
all of a
Central
sudden somebody will have a big problem with that.
Yeah, I know. I hate to say it, but a lot of times, and on a lot of issues, and I'm probably going to get in trouble with saying this, Jeff, but a lot of times the constituents are probably the last people that are considered on a lot of things. Taxes, here's what I always say, and this may sound rather cavalier and a bit flippant, but there's some truth in it. Taxes are a bad thing. I'll say, taxes are not good, but the programs that taxes pay for are. don't know if that assuages anyone's angst about paying taxes. Good. It probably seems rather cavalier, like I said, but the fact is, that's where we're at. That's the world we live in, and that's the society that we've adopted.
It's not paying them; it's where they go that I have a problem.
Well, me too. Me too. And you said about you shouldn't have to look over a legislator's shoulder, and I agree. You shouldn't have to if they're true to their word when they're campaigning, and if they're true to their word when they speak publicly. I mean, there's all kinds of people that say they're fiscal conservatives out there. I'll tell you what, I'd do some fact checking on that kind of stuff. You know, that's the thing to say out there. I've said it myself. I say it all the time, but I always couch those remarks by saying, you know what, I'm not against spending money when it needs to be spent. I'm against wasting money. I don't want to see wasteful spending, and there's places.
But there are people who will entitle themselves to things that weren't meant for them. And that's where how do the policies and procedures that you put in place adhere to it, but yet other people will try to skirt that. And
I agree.
And
lawyers have to get paid too.
No, they not by this cowboy. Talking with Doug Mahan, Wood County Board Chairman here, as he rounds out his term on the county board for years, and as chairman as well. Business at hand here. What do you have?
I got lots of stuff, smaller items, maybe a little more a lighter fare than what we've been talking about here. But as I'm driving up today, beautiful day out there. I mean, sunshine and temperatures are not like they were the last couple of days, and they're going to get warmer this afternoon. Sun shining, and I happen to notice that when I'm coming through north of Pittsville, there's fresh snowmobile tracks in the road. You know, and it reminded me most of our snowmobile trails are open. Those are good revenue generating things for our businesses in the county. When we look at our trail system, I think I would say, if I could characterize it, as about 90% of our trails are open. I think the only place that they're not open this weekend is towards the Juneau County, Wood County line, where I think it's the snow drifters are out that way. Those trails are closed. But everything else is open. Powers Bluff is open. We're having a pretty good year at Powers Bluff, better than last year. We'll be open again this weekend. We've had more parties out there this year than we had in the past. And so we're looking at generating a revenue. It's never going to be, we're not going to generate $1 million out there, but everything helps, and especially when it comes in, we're providing an economic driver to probably ARPAN. I certainly hope so, somewhat to ARPAN, and we're getting people. The winter aspect of Powers Bluff is much greater than I originally anticipated. But I talked to Josh Miller up here at the city, and I talked to the Scott Larson and Matt at the Convention Visitors Bureau, and the people in Marshfield generally seem to be excited about the winter aspect of Marshfield. And as we talk about, and this is something I'm saddened by the fact I won't be around to see this, because I've been a big advocate. Anybody that knows me is what we're looking at for the development of Powers Bluff is very much a great idea for many reasons. But we're looking at developing that as a biking venue for mountain biking and balloon tire biking events. And that's become a very, very big thing, a very big dynamic with, I don't know if it would be millennials or X-Geners. I don't know. I can't keep that stuff straight. But probably I would say, people in their 30s and early 40s are big into that stuff, and they're into the competitive aspect. And if you look around us, and this is what I've always said, one thing about Wood County that somewhat stifles us at times is we have a very provincial way of thinking about some things. You look at the counties around us. Marathon County was probably the first one to develop a very big outdoor type silent sport oriented venue at 9 Mile Forest. They're now putting on 2 additional bike venues for competitive events as well as just recreational riding. Portage County has developed a biking venue for competition at Standing Rock. We're still talking about doing one at Powers Bluff, and all the bikers that I talk to identify Powers Bluff as what would be a premier site for that type of competitions, as well as drawing other people in. So, and we've put that off budgetarily for a couple of times. And this is one of those areas where, you know what, you talk about spending money. And a lot of people say, what do you want to spend? You know, if you're 80 years old and you're never going to ride a bike again, do you want to spend money on a bike plan? Probably not. If you're a visionary and you're 70 years old and you say, you know what, this might be good for my grandkids or generations, or, you know, generally good for the county as it comes, and I want to think about the health of my county, then you might say, yeah, this is worth our time and effort. But if you look at the whole plan, and then I've always been a guy that has a big picture and a long-range picture. Our connection with North Central Wisconsin Regional Planning, which was a political fight at the county board, at the executive committee. People didn't want to join that organization. Well, guess what? We're going to get some money out of that collaboration with them right away for a development of a Wood County bike plan. I talked to the director up there, and I said, you know, Dennis, as we talk about the bike plan, and we're talking about pedestrian-type riding bike paths, I said, can we somehow incorporate our plan for Powers Bluff into that and maybe identify some granting opportunities and maybe some opportunities for that North Central planning can help us with that development? Absolutely. So that's encouraging that we can get some help and some collaboration and maybe some money, because you know what I see? I see you develop Powers Bluff as that biking venue, and then maybe you have a recreational trail that comes out of Marshfield. That's the shortest link to Powers Bluff. Pretty soon people are coming to Marshfield, maybe staying in the motel with their families. Maybe Dad's going to run the race at Powers Bluff tomorrow. So you get up in the morning, you eat breakfast, you stay in the motel, you eat breakfast in Marshfield. Kids get on their bikes with Mom and Dad, and they ride out to Powers Bluff. It's a 10-mile ride. Dad does his race. Maybe they have a picnic out there. They all ride back. Wow, pretty soon. Then maybe you think, well, Pittsville's not that far away. Let's do a loop from Pittsville. Then the big one from Rapids. You do that. I'm not saying anything's going to be easy. I don't have a plan right here. I just have an idea. And then you do it from Rapids. Pretty soon, Wood County becomes a destination for people that bike, just like Door County's a destination for people that boat. And they say, wow, let's go to Wood County. We can ride all over the place, and we can be safe doing it, and it's going to be fun. That's how you develop economics. That's how you develop a base, I think. You have to have a plan. And then what's interesting with what I hear from the Marshfield people is the same people that ride bikes do snowboarding. And they identify Powers Bluff as being much more adaptable to snowboarding than it is to skiing. We've always looked at it as a ski facility. But it's more, they're telling me, it's much more suitable for boarding. And they say that we should go that route with them. So,
talking with Wood County Board Chairman Doug Mahan here. You can too. 384-2191, 384-2191, live on the radio this third Friday in February, or you may be watching us on video here at some point in the future. I say that because some of these things we talk about may have already been changed as far as the outcomes or the arguments, even for that matter, here in the future when you're watching us. So we have to give you the vantage point at which we're looking at it as. You talk about developments like that, though, but when people look at it and they say, what's the percentage of people who are ever going to benefit from that?
Yeah, and that's a legitimate argument, but I would certainly be happy to make the case that everybody in the county would benefit from it. If you're looking at a revenue and taxation and economic, here's the thing. When you talk about economic drivers and when you talk about a strong local or county-wide or regional economy, you're talking about the benefits. There's no doubt if you have strong businesses that are making money and flourishing, you're generating economic benefit for everyone, not only through taxes and the basic of which is sales tax, but you're talking about an economic case where businesses will expand and employ more people, generating more income, more cash, more currency flowing through the economic base and the system. Those are all positives where I can't tell you what it's going to be. I can't give you a dollar and cents figure on that, Jeff, but I can tell you that it's been proven by many analytics and statistics that that's the way it works. We know that. Economists know that that's the way it works. You may not convince, again, somebody that's 85 years old and lived through the Depression or something like that about the merits of that theory. But the fact is, it's been proven over and over again. And those kind of things will lower taxes. They will, and business collaborations with government can pay dividends as far as less taxation, less capital investment by government on a lot of things.
Does that really happen? I mean,
I think it has.
When revenue comes in, there seems to be another way to use it.
Well, yeah, that's on us. I mean, that has to be on us. Elected officials, and that's what, again, where county. One of the things that worries me is when if we, which I think there's a strong case for it, get that solar development in Saratoga, in the southern part of the county, you're looking at $350,000 extra revenue coming into the county. What worries me is, how quick are we going to find a way to spend that? Because we're going to probably, instead of what I would advocate for, and you've just seen some of this with the governor down in Madison advocating with the surplus in the budget. How do you want to spend it? Do you want to give tax relief to citizens, or do you want to expand on some programs where we need to expand? And I really think there's middle ground there. That's where I come from. I'm a middle ground guy. Yeah, you can do both to an extent. If you can identify ways to spend it that are going to be prudent, there's nothing wrong with spending some of it. But I think that also you have to look at reducing tax burden.
Expanding programs worries me because they seldom contract. And then when that revenue may or may not continue. But, what a mile of asphalt costs, is that if it's in front of my house, I'm happy. In front of your house, I'm not so much.
Good point. And that's the fact. And then just to complicate that a bit is some programs that you're forced to do statutorily. You're forced, but there's a lot of programs that we are forced to provide by the state or through federal monies, and they're not fully funded. Or sometimes they're not funded at all. On unfunded mandated programs that are all over, or the funding shrinks. That's the big one. They throw the big carrot out there at first. You initiate the program, and the funding dwindles. I could probably list 15 of them right now for you, where we're getting short funded on because we weren't at first. But you know what? We're going to allocate $1 million to you to do adult protective services. I'll pull that one out of the air. Okay, we're going to give Wood County $1 million to do adult protective services from state. Okay, 10 years later, we're going to give you $1 million to do adult protective services. It's been 10 years. $1 million was enough when you started the program. It's half what we need now. So who supplies the additional income for that program?
In order not to lose
Mr. Canon, I think that it's time for you to kick into the donation.
Yeah, I got kicked in the butt. Too. That's what I got.
Yeah.
But, London Bridge has fallen down here, but that's not a glitzy project. Nobody wants to hear about infrastructure so much until...
Ooh, wow. Yeah, I know.
Until that's one of those where...
Marshfield's getting her.
Slowly.
When you talk about infrastructure, I mean, look at the fund, and you're lucky. I mean, you're fortunate up here. You have some very good-hearted philanthropists in Marshfield that have been able to kick in for, your STEM building project at the campus, your library, your square. You talk about good business government collaborations. The square off one block off of Central. What is it? Not Wenzel? Is it Wenzel Square?
Plaza? Yeah,
Wenzel Plaza. That's great idea, great venue, great place to put some. If you were a philanthropist, man, that's great. That has an impact here. I mean, I think that you talk to Scott Larson, or you talk to Josh Miller, or you talk to Matt. They're going to tell you that has an impact financially for the businesses around that square, probably, and it has a value. Not only that, but it has a value for constituents, whether they spend a dime or not. If you can go and hear some live music at Wenzel Square, and you can walk there 3 blocks from your house on a Friday night or whatever it is, and maybe pick up something to eat, maybe get a beer.
It's hard to quantify, and the lifestyle, we call it, or we need to have this because in order to attract people, we need to have a certain amount of, be current with these things.
Yep.
But that's hard to quantify when you live here, as opposed to attracting, because there's certain businesses within the area that will see that and understand that, human resources directors in the area. But for the average person on the street, they're like, what?
Well, yeah. Well, there you go. I'm certainly not gonna argue. That's a philosophical thing, and I'm certainly not gonna argue. I'm past. I'm 2 months away. I'm not going there.
You're not lighting that fire, huh?
I'm not going there. Nope, you're not going to get me there. Hey, nice try, though.
I wouldn't be doing my job.
But I'll see it, and that's one of the things we do in Rapids. I mean, Marshfield and Rapids are doing. That's what's interesting about the Ready Grant. And when we talk about a regional economy, I see really good things in Rapids. I mean, we're talking about rebuilding and rejuvenating the riverfront down there. That's going to do kind of the same things that we talk about when we talk about Wenzel Square and those things. And the zoo up here. Those are quality of life pieces. How much, I can't tell you how much it means to your economic base. I can't tell you if there's a guy out in Sacramento, California that looks at Marshfield and says, you know what? That's a cool zoo. They got some neat stuff downtown. I wouldn't mind living there. I can't tell you that that's going to happen. I can't tell you how many times it's going to happen. I can tell you if you don't have it, it's never going to happen. That's what I can tell you.
There it is.
And so Marshfield and Wisconsin Rapids have done things. But when we look at the Ready Grant, the Regional Economic Development Initiatives, we're looking at a much broader picture, and that is so exciting. I've been able to sit on those steering committee groups, and to me, that's another thing that I'm really sad that I'm not going to be around for. I hope they allow me to participate as a citizen, as a former elected official, because I think it's critical. I see the thought process there already on how we're thinking about things and how that's starting to develop, and how we talked in a group the last time we met about. We were prioritizing objectives for the quality of life piece, and Marianne Lippert was there, and we had some things listed at the top that we realized maybe weren't as important as rural broadband. Maybe we had our priorities mixed up. Maybe that we can't do the other things aren't going to have meaning if we have a good park system, if we have great outdoor venues, and we don't have rural broadband, it's not going to matter.
That's what I mean by glitz compared to infrastructure, though. It's just not a high-profile thing unless it's you.
Yeah, exactly. And I get I get that point. But one of the things that it brought to the committee's attention was that rural broadband is much more important than we had given it. We didn't give it enough credence, and it's a big thing, but it's a very, very complex issue because you're talking about what you would consider, railroads build their railroads. They don't ask the public to lay railroad track, and that's kind of the same situation for a telecommunications company. You're probably not going to get many people to say, hey, you know what, use my tax dollars to help that company put cable in the ground. Probably not going to happen. But there has to be a way, and what we need to do is find out how we can help those people do that. And that's how you help businesses. And you're going to have trouble with people on that one sometimes because they say, why should we help businesses? It's capitalistic society, and we operate by those capitalistic values. Well, you know what? Sometimes that's not good enough.
Well, it's the basics, though. Government is meant to be a loss
agree.
Because they do those things that corporations couldn't.
But if you can identify where a government-business collaboration is effective, I think you're obligated to at least take a look at it. I'll give you an example how I thought about this and see if it relates to what you're thinking or resonates at all. When I talked to the mayor of Wisconsin Rapids, when the big controversy, and Marshfield's going to have the same controversy of swimming pools. When we grew up, swimming pools were everywhere. No big deal. You didn't think about it. You paid your dime if you didn't have a city pass, and went and got a locker basket and swam all day long if you wanted to. Everybody had to have a pool. It was a rage. Nakusa had a pool. Port Edwards had a pool. Little towns had pools. Well, we found out that they're very expensive to manage. They're probably a money pit. As far as, you get a crack, you start leaking water, you're filling up with water, blah, blah, blah. But we have to have one. So we're going to do a water park. But I advocated to the mayor. I said, you know what? If I was in your shoes, I think I would try to find a private collaborator on this. I really would. And this is how I would do it. And whether or not you think it has any merit, I don't care. It's just an idea. And you got to start somewhere. In Rapids, we have a dynamic where we have millionaires and billionaires flying into Rapids to play golf at Sand Valley. Okay, coming in, parking their plane on the golf course. Rapids wants to have them spend some money. They want them to have some drivers in the community. Mr. Mayor, find a partner, a business partner that wants to do a water park. Maybe wants to build some kind of a water park. Maybe you put it downtown where you're trying to rejuvenate the downtown. Maybe that's an idea, maybe it's not. I don't know, but you at least look at your options. Find somebody that says, you know what, there could be some value here. Maybe we get those guys that are flying in on jets to bring their families along for them. Instead of staying for 24 hours, they stay for a weekend. They can do it to the Dells, and if you don't capture some of those people and lasso them, that's probably where they're going to be landing next year, is at the Dells. You find a business partner that identifies that and says, yeah, you know what, that could work. What can you do for us? Well, maybe we can do some infrastructure stuff for you. Maybe we can change the street. What else? There's a lot of options there. Maybe we can do the streets. Maybe we can do some underground sewer work. It's going to have to be expanded, blah, blah, blah. But we can partner on this thing. You build it. You maintain it. We'll help you get this thing established. In return, you give all our city citizen residents a reduced rate or an annual pass to your park. I don't know. Does it make sense? I don't know. But I'm saying I think I'd look at it. I'd look at it for the benefit of my taxpayers and for the benefit it does for my economic base.
Talking about how the world works here on a county level with the County Board Chairman Doug Mahan from Wood County. You can join us, 384-2191. We're live on this third Friday in February. If you are watching us in video in some day in the future, this is when it all took place here. Otherwise, if you're listening to us on radio, give us a call, 384-2191.
Moving Marshfield forward by giving back. At Forward Bank, that's what it's all about. Hi, this is Bill Senholtz, President and CEO at Forward Bank. We're proud to say that 100% of our deposits are being invested in loans in our communities. That means your deposit dollars are staying here to help local businesses and families who need financing. To help move our communities forward, stop in and open your account today or open your account online at www.forward.bank. Member FDIC.
Welcome to the Zaleski Sports Show. I'm your host, Jason Zaleski, and you can listen to the Zaleski Sports Show weekly right here on WDLB, Mondays at 10 a.m. We'll recap the weekend football action from around the area, bring in local high school coaches to get their insight on the season. We'll also get you ready for the next week of volleyball, soccer, and back to football. It's the Zaleski Sports Show on WDLB, Mondays at 10.
AM 1450 WDLB's Insight program here for this third Friday in the month of February. You know that if you're listening live, if you're watching on video in the future, this is when it all took place. If you are listening live, 384-2191 is our number here, 384-2191, as I talk with Wood County Board Chairman Doug Mahan. One of the final times here as far as your tenure on the board is concerned, and just talking about some of the other. We get philosophical here. That's the way I steer it generally.
That's okay. It's fine with me.
But facts and figures here, how are we doing county-wise?
Facts and figures. What specific facts and figures?
Are we budgetarily, we're doing fine?
Yeah, so far, yeah. Yeah, nothing. There's nothing on the horizon. Well, I can talk a little bit about this. We've talked about it in committee. We've been approached that we can. There's a possibility that we may acquire a piece of land close to the courthouse campus, and we're currently doing some negotiating. It's not a big dollar. I don't think it's going to be a big dollar amount. I don't know if it's going to get done. The fact is, we're doing some initial research on that, and then we would probably have to do some kind of a small budget resolution if we decided to purchase that. It wouldn't be. You're looking at. This sounds crazy. Maybe looking at $100,000 budget adjustment there. But other than that, there's nothing budgetarily that's out of place or problematic right now. But we're early. It's early.
Is county government squeezed now? Is the building? Are you burgeoning?
I think that as far as space-wise,
yeah.
No, we're good. The River Block acquisition was huge. And it's funny you mentioned because we were just talking about the other day, yesterday morning, in fact, at the end of that 30-year lease. Then, we're good now. But hopefully we'll get to renew that lease. Who knows what's going to happen? That building has some viability for a long time yet. It's a fairly new, modern building. Somewhere down the road when you and I are long gone, they're going to have to build a new courthouse eventually somewhere, but we won't be around to have to worry about it. But the big talk is, and we're still continuing the jail discussion, which is, in its infancy yet, basically, and that's going to be a long, protracted discussion. That's going to be talk about philosophical discussions. That's going to be some tough stuff. You're looking at if you do come down and decide to build a new jail, you're looking at bonding some serious money for long term, and you're talking about strapping that on taxpayers. And in the meantime, in the tenure of a 30-year bond repayment, you're looking at the philosophy of incarceration possibly changing a lot. 30 years is a long time. We're already looking at a governor that has a much different philosophy on incarceration than, say, Tommy Thompson did. I mean, we look back to Tommy Thompson. We were building prisons all over the state. Couldn't build them fast enough. Everybody needs to be in jail. And now it's, we need to rehabilitate. So those philosophies change as we go on. And maybe they'll go backwards. Maybe they advance even further. But the fact is, if you're going to tie me to a 30-year bond for, I'll throw $75 million out there, and after 15 years, I got an empty jail, I'm going to be looking for somebody to explain that to me. So that's...
Trends are tough.
You bet.
Trends are tough.
You bet.
And when you're talking about a long-term expenditure like that, right now, everything makes sense. Build it,
Yeah.
Because we're incarcerating faster than...
A lot of people, it's a political issue, and if you can get some traction out there, you can... Politics can cause you to do stupid things. I'm going to say it. So there you have it. There, right from my mouth. There, you can put that on the headline. Politics can make you do stupid things. But speaking of trends, this is something I did want to talk about as well. If you recall, back when Volkswagen was guilty of knowingly violating emission standards in the state of Wisconsin, had to pay a big settlement. Well, that money is in the hands of state government now, and the Lieutenant Governor has put together, with some of that money, a pot of grant money that's going to be available for EV, electric vehicle charging stations. And we've broached that subject in Wood County with our solar involvement, and we've talked about electric vehicles. I mean, I just saw a survey yesterday. I just looked at some statistics yesterday that the cost of owning an electric vehicle compared to a internal combustion motor vehicle over the course of 15 years is $18,000 cheaper. Well, so certainly you probably are going to at least look at that. And with the mileages that we travel with some of our government vehicles, and we have phenomenal amounts of mileage checks written to Wood County employees that have to use their own vehicles to do their job. And so when we look at, and in some departments, we're talking nearly $250,000 to $500,000 that's a pretty big piece of a budget. So if you can look at purchasing an electric vehicle that has lower maintenance costs, you don't buy gas, you have lower maintenance costs, and you can get an electric charging station from the state through grant money. Certainly if you have a plan in place to do something with EVs, you're probably more likely to capture some of that revenue from the state government. I think that's something that you probably need to think about. And then you can go a step further and even maybe do a solar charging station and be totally free, and you don't pay electric costs or anything. So I think those are things that you need to look at. I love that electric vehicle solar thing because it's a chance to reduce costs that you very, very seldom get. And we talked about spending unexpected revenue and finding a place to spend it. But, it's the same way with reduced expenditures. If you can identify ways to reduce your expenditures, meaningful ways to reduce, I think you're obligated to take a serious look at them.
Well, the critic of the plan will say, well, what about the vehicle itself? We got maintenance and batteries and all these unintended consequence here of buying vehicles that we don't know exactly how that's going to we can amortize it out on the pay sheet, but what's it really going to be? I mean, in the long run, for mechanic cost, and we're going to have to revamp the county garage. And
well, no, I don't think that. First of all, you don't go into it wholesale. I mean, you're talking probably about maybe one vehicle, two vehicles. It's just like Nepco Lake. There's a test procedure. You're going to certainly give it a chance. You have to do that. I mean, you can't say I'm not going to do it because you don't like the way it looks. Yeah, get a vehicle and try it maybe. If it makes sense. If the initial investigation determines that, yeah, this could be something. I mean, we looked at here, I'll give you an example. We looked at, when I first was elected chairman, one of the first things I looked at was a county vehicle fleet. Because when I looked at those mileage reimbursements, I said, holy cow, there's money here that justifies us buying some vehicles and letting the employees take them. Not only that, but the employees don't always like driving their cars and putting that kind of mileage on their cars. Some of them are putting 50,000 miles a year on their cars, doing their job. I mean, yeah, okay, you get a mileage check, but holy cow, you'd like your car to last longer than 3 years, too. So we looked at a vehicle fleet. Well, guess what? It sounded really good. We got a pretty good dog and pony show from one of the major corporations that would do that for us, and a lot of it was based on equity and turnover of cars. Well, guess what? We don't do that in the county. We get a vehicle, we normally drive it till the fenders rust off of it. That's just the way we do things, and it's practical. So we don't care about equity. We don't care about equity when we're flipping it over to the dealer every 3 years. And the case is made that, well, you're going to save money on insurance because it's going to be a modern vehicle with all the safety features. Well, how much is that worth? Well, they could never really tell us that. So it was supposition to an extent, and we ended up not doing it. But we certainly investigated it. But I think with electric vehicles, we're probably on better ground. And I certainly think that our Nepco Lake display is going to, or solar array is going to give us some analytics that will prove the case for that. I know it.
Talking with Wood County Board Chairman Doug Mahan here this third Friday in February, coming to you on Channel 989 on your Spectrum Digital tier, or you can watch us at marshfieldmediaaccess.org or their Facebook page on video as well here. If you're live, you can give us a call, 384-2191, 384-2191, talking about the business of the county and just generally how the whole thing works. Other agenda items? Or
yeah, I got a couple things. One thing I really want to touch on real quickly is our county comprehensive plan. First, that's another thing that I brought forward, and which turned into a political fight because of me. But I don't know many counties that don't have one. It covers everything. It covers everything from economic development. It covers whatever you want it to cover. Anybody that wants to grind a political axe or likes playing that game should jump on a comprehensive plan because you can put it right in there. Put it in there. What do you want? You want to have a county administrator? Get it in your comprehensive plan. You want to have private wells tested in the county? Get it in your comprehensive plan. You want to have economic development? You want to have parks development? Anything you want to do, get it in your comprehensive plan. Get it put in there and develop a plan and objectives and goals. And I think it's like a comprehensive plan. And so. I'm encouraged by what we did there. We had a meeting after the county board on Tuesday where department heads got together after our initial county strategic plan, was put together, and they looked at the items that were on there as far as projected goals and objectives. And I think it was successful. One of the things I really like about it is it gives two things that I really noticed it did when I looked at the strategic plan is it really identifies for you in black and white where there can be interdepartment collaborations, which I think is very important. You can see places where there are symbiotic relationships between, like, say, the health department and economic development. Would you normally think about that? I certainly didn't. But when I see it, when you talk, number one, public health from a county perspective is no longer about baby vaccinations and car seats. It's about community health. When I say community health to you, when I say public health to you, and when I say community health to you, that brings up two different little things in your head. Community health incorporates much more: farmer markets, bike paths, overall health of your community. From a somewhat maybe subtle standpoint, it's not going down and getting your shot. It's not being tested for tuberculosis. It's about how do we keep you healthy in all sorts of ways, whether it be you farm to market produce, whether it be a farmer's market where you can go buy fresh produce, whether it can be a bike rental system where, you know what, instead of sitting on the couch, you say, hey, you know what, it's a nice day out there, I'll go rent that bike for $1.50 and take a ride around the lake. Those are the things that we talk about. So you wouldn't normally establish that with economic development, but then when you look at the economic development piece of a bike path and what that does for your economic base, when we just talked about Powers Bluff, we talked about recreational opportunities in both the big cities as well as Pittsville. Excuse me, Marianne. But those are things that those are collaborations that you wouldn't normally identify, but the strategic plan lays them out for you. Wow, I can work with this department. Secondly, it gives departments that normally don't have a voice a map that says we're involved in this. We need to speak to it. And I'm talking specifically now, one example that I saw was emergency government. Emergency government, nobody talks about emergency government except when there's an emergency. But emergency government is becoming a little more proactive. They have to be. So if you're going to be proactive in emergency government, it shows collaborations where you can work with people. When we talk about our parks and when we talk about the solar that we did in Epco Lake, those are pieces that have been adapted now by Mr. Cruiser in emergency government as things that are relevant for him. And if they're relevant, then he has to come to the table. He should come to the table and be a part of that discussion. And if he's not invited or if he doesn't take the initiative, that's not a good thing. He should do that. And that's what strategic plans do. And that should not be a political argument. That is common sense, good, I'll say business management, if nothing else. But it's plain good management and good theory.
Getting a strategic plan, comprehensive plan, whatever plan you want to call it, the hard part is the first step.
Absolutely.
I mean, because the first plan is a bear cat, because you're looking at anything and everything, and it's just a wide world of things. The other thing is, what obligation do you have to follow it?
None. You don't have any. Nothing's written in stone, but you continually change it, and certainly you want to be working towards those goals and objectives. Because if you're not, then you failed. You failed the process, and you're not utilizing it. But you have to be committed to it, and I think we have that commitment. I know we have the commitment from the department heads. There's no doubt in my mind we have the commitment from the department heads. I think we lack in the political will department on the county board, and it baffles me why you would.
Because if you live by the sword, you die by the sword, as the old saying goes.
Well, I guess. I don't know.
If my money isn't in there, then I can't bring it up.
If my agenda's not in there, I can't bring it. If I can't drive the agenda, I have,
Well, it happens. I mean, every rule's made to be broken, as the old cynical saying goes.
Some people don't want to play if they can't have the whole sandbox.
Well, at least have access to it anyway.
Yeah. I mean, you know what? You have to be a team player. I mean, you have to realize the value of it. I mean, leave the baggage at the door. This is for the good of the county. I mean, we're talking about a lot of things here. It's a discussion of a lot of people. Nobody's going to listen to one person. Nobody should. I mean, to me, yeah, it's a good thing. We need to get there. It'll pay dividends, especially when we look at the READY grant process and how we're going to develop an economic development plan. I'm very, very excited about that. I think you're going to see some. I think you're going to see some measurable things out of there, and that's one of the beauties of that READY grant. What's going to come out of that economic development plan is we're going to establish measurables. We're going to lay it out. We're going to give you that quantitative piece.
It could be a map to success.
I think it will be. I think it'll certainly be impactful, and I think you won't when it's all said and done. You will not get an argument from. I mean, I'll tell you what. Look at the people that are involved in it.
Well, in the final minute or so here, recap what that is for people who don't know. I know you and I have talked about it, and I've talked about it even with Extension, because there's some people on there who are on it.
That is a grant we received through the USDA federally. We applied for and received it through the USDA for rural economic development. and we're considered there. And what we did is we've been given. We were collaborating with the University of Kentucky, Purdue University, and also with the University of Wisconsin Extension to develop and implement an economic development plan. They gave us 5 objectives they gave us a choice of 5 objectives that were identified through an early Rural Economic Development Initiative survey. And we chose 2, which are economic development and quality of place. Those were the 2 things we wanted our plan to focus on. And so our steering group is basically broke into those 2 committees, and we're developing objectives and goals and strategies to reach those goals within those groups. All the movers and shakers from Marshfield are involved, as well from Wisconsin Rapids. And the group gets bigger as we need to draw other people in. The ancillary people come in, and I was our last meeting. I know that I'm sitting in the quality of place group, and we made, I think, big steps. We identified some stuff we need to do right now. We're not going to wait for the initiation. We're going to do them now.
All right, good to talk to you, and thank you for making yourself available to us up here.
My pleasure. As usual, Jeff, I love coming up here. It's my pleasure.
All right, talking with County Board Chairman Doug Mahan of Wood County here on today's Insight program, this 3rd Friday in February. You might be watching us on video through Marshfield Media Access outlets or on Channel 989 on your Spectrum Digital tier.